In this video, I'm going to explain a handful of different time management strategies and which strategies I've applied to my own life that I've seen the best results with. I love trying to optimize my schedule and my time because it helps me get the most out of life, and I think that's what you want for yourself as well. A few weeks ago, I spoke with Alex Sanfilippo. He's the CEO of Podmatch, which helps podcast guests and podcast hosts intermingle, and he had this to say about time management that I thought was really insightful.
And the other thing I do is the start of every day during that first 2 hours. One of the things I'm doing is I'm writing down the 3 most important things for me to do that day. There's the old 80-20 rule, right? That 20% of what we do drives 80% of the results. My goal at the beginning of the day is to figure out what are those most important 3 things I have to do today that are so important that if I get them done, nothing else really matters that much, right? So some days it's not even all work related. Some days it's, hey, I'm taking my wife on a date tonight. That will be one of the 3 things. But what I do then is I make sure that I prioritize time and I leave time blocks available for this to get those 3 main things knocked out. And when I'm done with those, if I have time left, man, I can live my hustle dream, right? Of like just checking things off the list and doing all the little things that don't matter. But I have to start with those 3 important things because I know if I go to bed and that's all I did, I'm getting closer to my goals by doing those.
Let's uncover a few things here, starting with only having 3 things on your to-do list. And at first, this might sound a little counterintuitive because it's like, why not have more? I want to achieve all of the things. Why not all of the things? The reason being, when you have a bunch of stuff on your to-do list, you end up losing sight of what's actually the highest priority, which things have the most impact. And usually you either spend time doing things that aren't all that productive, or you feel a little bit overwhelmed, and then you probably end up doing even less than you would having only done 3 things. A book I recommend for reprioritizing your life to start getting things done more effectively is called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. It's a wonderful book, and it's inspired me to start asking myself the question every day, what is the thing that I can do that's going to have the highest ROI? The thing that's going to have the biggest impact on my entire day? So when I do these 3 things on my to-do list, I can ensure that these are the top 3 things that are going to push me toward the output that I actually want. They're going to have the highest return. So when I lay my pretty little head, and you lay your pretty little head down to rest before you go to sleep each night, you're knowing that your actions are actually aligning with the output that you want. The things that are going to have the highest ROI. The second thing that Alex mentioned was the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto Principle, and I found this to be most effective when I'm trying to learn new things. Essentially, what the 80-20 rule states is that 80% of the outcome or outputs result from 20% of all causes or inputs for any given event. In business, you could see this as you're getting 80% of your revenue or profits from 20% of your clients. In songs, 20% of the chords affect 80% of the songs that are produced out there. It's about finding that 20% that is going to give you the highest ROI and affect the 80%. So you're not wasting all of your time on either learning new things that are related to your subject but don't have a very great impact, or you're not spending time on things that aren't going to have a great impact because it's not even affecting the 80%. Maybe you're like me, but since I've been out of school, I hardly ever have any consequential deadlines. Of course, many of us have them at work, but we hardly ever set them for ourselves. And as much as I mean I'm going to accomplish this by this date, I also mean it in the sense of I'm going to work on this task from X time to Y time. That way you're actually held accountable to what you're working on and you're not dragging it out longer than it needs to be. You're saying this task is only going to take me 3 hours and I'm going to work on it from 9 to 12. The way I like to sometimes structure my to-do list is even having a task and then the time that I'm going to work on it for it during the day. So it'll be like, let's just say it's breakfast. I'm having breakfast, cooking breakfast from 8 to 10. It's kind of a long time, but I think you get the idea. Setting deadlines, even time deadlines throughout your day to ensure that you're actually getting work done effectively. Next, and this is easily my favorite time management strategy, is called time batching. Time batching is essentially grouping similar activities and doing them all at once instead of breaking them up into separate times. For example, it's more advantageous to film 6 videos in 1 day than it is to film 6 videos in 6 days. The reason being is you got to set stuff up, you got to do this, you got to do that. And instead of just setting it up once, banging them all out, and then you're done and you're good for the rest of the week. Same way, it's more advantageous to check your email maybe once, twice at the most during a day than to check it 7 times a day and just be living in constant interruption. Just time batching to save yourself time. One of the largest reasons that I feel like this is a great strategy is because our brain takes time to recalibrate when we shift from task to task. In the book Irresistible by Adam Atler, whenever we get an email that's incoming and we just check it immediately, it can take up to 26 minutes to refocus back to whatever we were originally working on. And time batching helps eliminate that. Many top-level executives time batch based on days of the week. They'll spend Monday is on marketing, Tuesday is on accounting, Wednesday is hanging out at the golf course. Take a similar approach where I break up my Tuesdays and my Thursdays for all communication type tasks like phone calls, meetings, podcasts, anything that takes a face-to-face interaction. I'll schedule those for Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Monday, Wednesday, Fridays is more technical work. Monday is prepping for podcasts, and then Fridays are filming the videos. So each day is somewhat dedicated into doing similar kinds of activities. I love it. Time batching is one of the best time management strategies that I've begun to use, and I've seen the use of it. My 5th tip for time management is to allocate protected time. And what are you protecting your time from? Distractions, or even yourself. I'd say protected time, you should dedicate at least 3.5 hours a day to where you're not checking emails, you're not checking social media, you're getting rid of all external distractions, things that you're usually gravitated to doing, distractions, and then also intrinsic distractions, such as if you got a cluttered brain, that means you're writing everything down, all the ideas and all those things that are clouding your brain, write them down, and then dedicate 3.5 hours to protected time. And the reason this is important because protected time will allow you to get into the flow state. The flow state is single-handedly one of the greatest things that can happen to your productivity. It's full immersion into your work. It's when your senses are heightened, time moves differently, it almost like it moves slowly, you think clearly, and people call it being in the zone. They use it synonymously with that. I used to talk with a close colleague of mine, and we used to always talk about, man, there's this time where we get so deeply focused on something that we just bang things out, no problem. And in order to find that, you have to rid yourselves of distractions. The first time I heard it be called the flow state was when I read the book The Art of the Impossible by Kotler, and he talked about how flow state is the thing that makes us wildly impactful and efficient and productive. It's one of the best things that can happen to us. I highly implore you to dedicate protected time for you to get deeply focused and immersed in whatever work you're doing. My 6th tip is saying no. I'm a man that loves to do things, and unfortunately, I cannot do everything. I've tried. I've come to the realization that doing one thing deeply goes much further than doing a million things slightly, having each one of those little things get a little bit of love. I kind of look at it like this. I could either have 7 plants that only get a little bit of water and they hardly grow, or I can have 1 plant and it gets all my water and I just see it blossom beautifully. Now, clearing your plate isn't always that easy, and saying no up front isn't always an easy task to do. And it's definitely something I'm continuing to work on myself. At the beginning of this year, I was taking on too many projects, and for someone who loves the work, that's hard to say, but it just was. I could feel that this wasn't a sustainable pace that I was working at. I was taking on too much. Even though I loved the work, it just really wasn't sustainable. So I had to start saying no to things. And what I found was, when you say no up front to projects, or just saying no at any point and being honest and transparent, people will find you, they'll respect you more because now you're being transparent. You're saying, I don't want this thing to suffer from my lack of ability to be fully involved in it. Or being upfront and saying, no, I currently don't have the bandwidth for this. And the art of it is finding a way to gracefully say no. And one of my favorite things to say when an opportunity comes up that I'm unable to take is saying, after further evaluation, I currently do not have the bandwidth for this project. Say that whenever somebody asks you to dinner or that you don't want to go to. Just say that. I don't have the bandwidth for this dinner, you psychopath. That's not graceful. Say it more gracefully than that. You get the idea. Just be sincere, be kind about it, be sincere about being appreciative of the opportunity, and just say no. And above all, stop saying yes at social circumstances and situations. You don't have to. If somebody says, hey, it would not be great if we did, you don't have to say yes. You don't. So don't. I'll be making this a series without a doubt. I'm just going to assume that there's a part 2 already floating up somewhere around here. And if you like this video, like this video. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so I can serve you best and you'll be notified as soon as a little banger comes out. Probably should have worded that a little differently, but I love you platonically and also intimately. Goodbye.